In this lesson, we're going to discuss some key steps to cleaning up raw images for the best possible result when creating seamless textures. Okay, so we're going to be working on brick_01, and you can find that in your raw images folder of your project files. And go ahead and bring that into Photoshop, and the first thing that you're going to notice is this residue on our brick texture. Now, whenever we go out and we take photos of walls and things like that, in this case our brick texture, sometimes we overlook little details like this. And it's very easy to get caught up in the pattern and thinking how interesting that is, and then we forget about little details like this that could be a dead giveaway whenever we tile this image. So what we can do to clean this up is just sample out a clean part of the texture and then recreate the texture using that clean sample. So to start this process, let's go ahead and unlock our layer by double-clicking on it and clicking OK. And then we're going to go to Image and then resize our image size. So we're going to take our height from 2304 down to 2048. We're going to make sure that those constrain proportions options are turned on. And then we're going to set it to bicubic sharper. Let's go ahead and hit OK to reduce that. And now we're also going to reduce our canvas size. So let's go to canvas size and let's switch from inches to pixels, and let's set our width to 2048 as well. We'll hit OK on that, and it's going to say that there's going to be some clipping involved, and that's okay. Let's proceed. Now we have a square area to work from. Now in previous lessons we've had a little bit hanging off, and we've basically cut that edge off and then put it on this side, but we're not going to be able to do that with this image. What we're going to do is we're just going to sample out an area and then work on that. So to start, let's go ahead and grab our marquee tool and let's just sample out one of these corners here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to bring my marquee tool just kind of right to the top of this peak here, and let's just just kind of bring out an area. You know what, actually, let's hit Control Z one time. Let's do that again, but this time let's hold down Shift. Try to keep that marquee selections square. So let's come right up above this peak right here, and we'll release that. Okay. Now we have this square marquee, and you'll notice that this line is right along the corner of this brick, and that's a good place for it. All right. So let's right-click on it and layer via cut, and let's hide layer 0. So now all we're left with is this little sample here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our texture and find some similarities that we can use to tile our sample. So you'll notice that we have this brick that's kind of coming down in this direction, and then we also have a similar brick on this side as well. So what I can do is figure out a way to create a seam on this side and then also create a seam that will match up perfectly on this side. So what my idea is going to be is to take these corners on this brick, and I'm going to pull these over to the side here of my canvas, and I'm going to try to get those corners to match up perfectly to the right side of my canvas. But one thing you're going to notice is that it doesn't match up quite right here. So let's bring that back and let's bring out a guide and let's straighten that angle up. So let's bring this guide right across here, and it's pretty close, but we're not quite there yet. So what I'm going to do is hold down Control and T, and I'm going to hold down Control and Shift and just drag this corner out just a little bit. And you know what, let's drag this corner. Well, we might be able to work with it right now. Let's check another corner. Let's check this side, make sure that that's right. Let's go ahead and shift this to the left and get that to line up there. Okay. And it doesn't look like we're quite there yet. Very, very close. Let's move that guide just a little bit more. Let's hit cancel on that. Fairly close. Now let's hit Control T Shift and Control and drag that corner out. There we go. Now we're in business there. Alright, so that's looking better. Let's check those corners again. This one seems to be pretty good. We might come over just a little bit on this one. Just a little. Now we'll hit Enter, and let's go ahead and cut off those edges. So we're going to crop out this image right here, and then we're going to move our image to the left side, and let's use our arrow keys, and we're going to shift that to the left until that top corner meets the edge there. Now we'll crop this and hit Enter. Okay, so now that we have that squared up again, let's move this image back to our right side, and I'm going to go ahead and move that all the way over to the right here, to where the corners of this brick are met at the top here. Let's crop that out. And now we need to get the other side correct. So we already have this brick right here, so we don't need all of this right here. All we need is just this corner. Okay, so let's move that over. Using our left arrow keys, I'm just going to nudge that over until that's lined up on those corners. And let's crop that out. Okay, so now all we're left with is just this little sample here. So we've done the left side and the right side. Now let's get the top. So I'm going to drag this down until I'm right here on this corner of this piece right here. Okay, so let's crop that. And then let's drag this up to the top, and we're going to match this right here. So we're going to cut off the top of this corner right here. So let's pull that up, and let's crop this. Alright, now one thing that I'm noticing here is that I've got this mortar, and it's not going to match up all that well right here. It's pretty thin. So let's drag that up one more, and let's crop that out. Let's make it square. This might make it a little bit easier on us. Now let's go ahead and check to see if this patch is going to work. So we're going to hit Control and J to duplicate that, and we'll line that up there, and that's pretty close. We could come in here and we could use our clone stamp tool to kind of clean up that seam, but this is fairly close. I'm just going to try this one time with you, and if you want to clean those seams up, you can do so. So I'm just holding down Alt, sampling an area, and we're just going to kind of clean up that seam a little. And we'll go down through the seam here, and it's done pretty well. Now let's check our left and right side. So I'm going to select both of these and merge those. Now let's hit Control J. Let's move that off to the left. And you can see that we have a little bit of a seam here, and again, you can go ahead and use that clone stamp tool and take care of that. So come in here and hold down Alt and just kind of clean up that seam. We don't have to worry about anything else, just the seam. We really can't see it all that much in the mortar, but if you want to take care of that, you can. So just usually one little stamp will work right along that seam there. So we're looking pretty good. And you'll notice that if we go ahead and take care of these problems now with our seam, it's going to go a lot easier down the road. Okay. So now that we've got that, let's go ahead and select both of these, merge those, and I'm going to hit Control J to duplicate that. And let's make sure that we have this lined up out to the edge of our image. Looking good. We're going to merge those. Hit Control J to duplicate that layer, and then we're going to drag this up toward the top and get that to match up there. Alright, so we're looking pretty good we're going to have to go ahead and clean up that seam right there. Whoop, actually we didn't bring it up quite far enough. So we're looking good there. You can go ahead and clean that seam up a little bit if you want to, but let's merge this. Alright, so now we could come in and we could start to tile this and make sure that it looks right. So to see this tiled, let's go to Filter, Other, Offset, and let's make sure that's set to 1024 by 1024. Now you'll notice that we have a line here, and the reason that we have that line there is because we didn't crop out that extra information. So let's cancel, grab our crop tool, and let's crop out everything outside of our canvas area and hit enter. And now when we go to Filter, Other, and Offset, you'll see that this tiles perfectly. Now like I said, you'll have to come in here and you'll have to fix this seam right in here, and that's easily done by just coming in with your clone stamp tool and just taking care of it that way. Some of these could be a little more challenging than others, but this really shouldn't be that big of a deal. Okay, so just kind of coming in, and I'm just doing this very quickly, taking care of this. Just holding down Alt and selecting a source, and then coming in and taking care of this problem. Okay, great. So now that we've taken care of that seam, we can hit Filter and offset that again, and now we've got a tiled texture. Now you might need to come in and do just a little bit more work, but we can use those same techniques to hide those seams there. But now we've got a perfectly tiled, seamless texture that we can use on a brick wall. Alright, so that's how we can clean those up, and in our next lesson we're going to take a look at another approach to fixing seams. Alright, so I'll see you then.